Let's do this.
I'm just going to click record and go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Rovin Podcast.
Check this out.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the Rovin Podcast. Excuse me, got to blow the cobwebs out. It's awesome to be back behind the microphone for another podcast. I always enjoy doing this. It's been great. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for watching the podcasts, for listening in, for providing your feedback and your comments. It's very much appreciated. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun and a work in progress so far, but it's great to be here. So we all know that the impacts of this past year and what it's had on business and industry around this country and across the globe. One of the biggest industries I think this has affected, at least in my world, is the live events and wedding industry. And so I'm joined on the podcast today by my dear friend, Misty Coolidge. Misty runs the Coolidge Family Farm Wedding Venue and Chapel in New Gloucester, also the main mixologist bar service who provides bar services for weddings and events and many other things like that. So hi, Misty. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mike. So my pleasure to be here.
I really appreciate you carving out in your busy schedule to do this.
No problem.
Time is important, so I really appreciate it. So we all know the impact that this past year has had, particularly
Absolutely.
on events. I mean, I think that most people can kind of just understand how this has affected weddings and events, literally turning things on its head upside down in a matter of, just overnight. How have you managed to, pivot in this time and, keep things moving forward and keep food on the table and keep things going?
Well, in many ways, actually, being a serial entrepreneur, I'm always thinking outside the box. Obviously, when this pandemic hit us last March and we were shut down, I tried to do what I could to survive. I mean, I'm supporting a family of 5. First of all, I tried to sympathize with my couples, put out there that this is going to be challenging times, but let's try to stay optimistic and positive. How can we make your day happen? In accordance with your vision, but maybe we have to downsize, maybe we have to change seasons, maybe we have to relook at things a little bit. We all needed to make huge sacrifices last year, and I think that goes for everybody, couples and all wedding industry people,
right?
To see their day happen and then also survive on our end, and then also trying to diversify my business. So I tried to think outside the box. I have cottages at my venue that I turned my 3rd honeymoon cottage into a year-round rental so that I could bring in some money over the winter. I spent money I didn't have on putting in a hot tub and spent $1,000 on excavation to redo the pipes under the ground to make sure they wouldn't freeze over the winter, and posted that rental on Airbnb to be able to make extra money that I wasn't getting from my couples, because once they postponed, they stopped paying, unfortunately, which you understand. There were a lot of job loss. There were a lot of cutbacks on people's just livelihoods.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to help. And I totally understood where they were coming from. If they could continue making payments, that would be so helpful. But if they couldn't, that's okay. Like, we'll get through this together. So I just really tried to think outside the box. And then the third, I just had to take out a loan, obviously, because all the bills still existed. Owning 5 properties I have 5 mortgages every month.
Wow.
I have to get paid, even if there's no money coming in. So I had to take a small business loan out to get myself through the winter and to pay the bills. So now I'm looking at paying that loan back over this next 3 years to recoup that loss of last year. So it's been a struggle, and it's been hard in my household as well, with just marriage and being the breadwinner and trying to manage, a family of 5 and 3 little ones going through this crisis. So, but we got through, and now we're on the other side and things are opening up, and I'm so excited for this year. I've got a record-breaking number of weddings because people are just so excited to finally get married, and I'm so excited to have them. I only had 8 of my 29 weddings last year, which was actually a really high number because most venues canceled their weddings on their couples or even charged a transfer fee. I did not do that. I actually gave my couples a deal to stay with me. I gave them all $500 off if they would postpone to off season or an off day. So if they chose a non-Saturday this year, I gave them some money off.
Wow.
Just to sympathize and help as much as I could. So that's how I managed to get through.
Yeah, you got to get creative, right? Really dig deep and find different things.
Yes.
Yeah. Are some of the new ways of doing business that you had to create during this time, will you be able to carry those forward? Did that sort of open your eyes to new things that maybe you might be able to apply to your business going forward now after this kind of settles down?
Yes, absolutely. The overnight stays, anniversary packages in that cottage have been a hit. All of my couples that came back last year to celebrate their anniversaries from 19, I think I had 6 or 7 couples come back amid a pandemic because nobody was going to hotels. I mean, they were closed and there's still anniversaries to celebrate. So where do we go? So I sent an emails to all my couples letting them know that this is a new adventure and I'd love you to come back and I'll have a personal chef dinner, make you dinner and have a nice romantic stay alone where it was safe. And they knew that it was just the 2 of them. They weren't sharing space with lots of other people. So it was a hit, and all the couples that have come back say they're going to come back again next year and this year. So, and I've even had people that never got married at my venue come and share that experience and rent the cottage from me. So it has been helpful, and I'll definitely continue it. I'm really excited about the addition, and we'll see where it'll take me. Hopefully it'll be one of those things that I have a waiting list for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all you can do, right? You try to sort of count your blessings and say, okay, what good did come out of this after all at the end of the day?
Yes.
You know?
For sure. Zoom is one of those things. I am so thankful for Zoom, being able to meet my couples. A lot of my couples are even my bar business. Like I have over 100 gigs a year, and I usually never met them. I've been doing that company for 12 years and I would never meet them because they didn't live here or time didn't allow. So now I actually get to meet all my couples over Zoom, and it's awesome. I just love what this has come out of the coronavirus. So.
Right. It certainly has connected people in new and different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
So you run a venue, you run a bar business, you're in local politics, you're at the main pageant,
Yeah.
You're a mom of 3 and trying to maintain a household at the same time of doing all these things. How do you manage your time? How do you manage to keep all that straight?
Well, it's a challenge, and I often get the comments, how do you do it? I don't know how you do it. You're a Wonder Woman, Superwoman, powerhouse. I get all of those wonderful compliments, which it's just fun. Like I feel like everything that I take on in my life has a purpose. And my outlook has always been, you should never turn down an opportunity to grow as a person and challenge yourself and allow yourself to be better than you were yesterday. So I've always had that optimism to always be changing and growing with the times. And as a person, we can all take that as an example and just learn to grow every day and be a better person. So I love challenging opportunities. When something presents itself to me that I'm like, could I make that work? Could I make that fit into my schedule? Do I see a lot of positive come out of that? I say, yes, you have to. Life is short. We don't know how long we're going to be here. And if I can improve somebody's life, help somebody, serve others, meet new people, and meet new inspiring people. Like that's amazing to me. Like the pageantry world is relatively new to me in the last 5 years, but I've loved it because I've met some amazing powerhouse women that I would have never had the opportunity to meet otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just challenged me as a person. Like I think I do a lot of great things, but then when you travel and you meet these other amazing women, like I met Mrs. Haiti when I was at a national pageant in West Virginia a couple of years ago, and she's building a school for hearing impaired children.
Wow.
I'm like, what? That inspires me to be a better person. So when I look at what I do here in the state of Maine, I think I do a lot of good, but there's so many other people that do even more. So it just makes me want to do more as well. But it's just balance. It really is. It's about taking things that are priority to you, making it fit into your schedule. I feel like if there's something that you want to tackle in this world, there's time to do it. Time should never be an excuse. The hours of the day are short sometimes. I find myself running a lot, but this is all a positive thing. Like this morning, we got a new puppy yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
6:30 with the dog, had 2 wonderful quiet hours to get some work done, which is a blessing without the kids being up yet. Hopping on with you. This afternoon, I'm hosting a charity quilt auction at my chapel to benefit the Margaret Murphy Center for Children and their food account with the Good Shepherd. So that will be a fun afternoon doing that. So it's all just exciting things. And I love the balance of it all. So
yeah. Do you write it all down? Use Google Calendar? How do you? There's so many different things. How do you keep
well, so don't laugh at me, but I not a
have a process.
And this is what my calendar looks like.
Oh my goodness.
So I literally have an old school day timer.
Yeah.
And this is what I keep right next to me at my desk. And I put everything on it. So I have to, it's the visible. I have to see it. I can't deal with the dot on the phone. I haven't gotten there and I don't think I ever will. So
still doing it the analog way.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And there's something about getting something out of your brain through your hands, writing it down. It seems to help solidify it, make it more concrete.
Yeah. Yep. Fitting it in, making it important, making it happen. So.
I mean, you made the leap from, corporate world. I mean, you had what some might say is sort of a regular job, salary, benefits, the whole thing, right? I mean, sort of all laid out and doing well, and then you kind of make this leap to becoming an entrepreneur and a business owner, and you've done it quite successfully. How do you get there? How do you cross that bridge? Huge.
Yeah, so I worked, I was a real estate paralegal for a Dead River company for 15 years. I loved that work. I loved the law. Before that, I was an intellectual property paralegal for Pretty Flaherty in Portland. That was for 8 or 9 years. And I loved what I learned there. That was what I had when I first got out of college. So my background is law.
Wow.
Thought I would want to go to law school. I studied for my LSATs on the beach after college, but decided that wasn't the path for me. I'm too much of a people person and have a bad reputation. So wasn't sure I wanted that for myself. So yeah, I got notice from Dead River that they were dissolving their real estate division. We got a notice, which was very kind of them, that they were going to keep us on while we dissolved our properties. So while we sold them off, we were going to maintain our jobs to sell them. So as that happened, I had the opportunity to figure what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
Right.
So I decided I'd already been in the industry. I've been marrying people for 24 years as a notary. My bar service has been going for 12 years. I've been running wedding days as a coordinator for 16 years. So 3 services I was already doing on the weekends while I had my 8-to-5 job. So as you can tell, I've always been just a crazy overachiever, but 40-hour week and then weddings on the weekends. And I decided that when I met my husband, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to send my kids to daycare. So how do we make that happen? So I decided to start looking at the barn industry. It had just started at the time. This was about 7 years ago. And there were a few barns out there, but they were way beyond my budget. When Peter and I decided to get married, I couldn't afford the barns that were existing at the time. It just wasn't in our budget. So I started looking around and found a few places that I loved, but learning from experience that the barns that sit in residential areas often have noise ordinance restraints from their neighbors. So I wanted to have a commercially zoned property. So I found what is now Coolidge Family Farm, purchased that while I was still at Dead River, took out an equity line against my home in Portland, and jumped in head first, not having a clue about restoring a property, code, fire, all these life safety. Like I didn't know any of those things, but I learned as I went. The state of Maine came down and talked to me about all my fire code and life safety things. And they're like, you bought this without meeting with us first? I'm like, yep. So what do I have to do to make this comply? And they're like, geez, girl, you've got some big balls. That's what they said. You've got some big cojones. Because you just jumped and feet first and you just knew it was going to happen. And I said, well, I've been in this industry for a really long time. And I love my counterparts. And I know that I will make this a success. It has to be. And because I'm really excited about it. This is my passion. Love is my passion. So I knew it was going to be a success. And thankfully, my first year out, 6 years ago, I had 10 weddings my first year, which is crazy for a new venue. Usually you hear them have, 1 or 2, 3 as a brand new, no name place. Right. But I already had a reputation. So I was very fortunate to jump in and already have a support around me. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of been this overarching theme in this podcast of kind of like overcoming adversity or struggle or insecurities or doubt and becoming something new. And everyone seems to have humble beginnings in some way, shape, or form. What was that like for you? And, what were some of the things you overcame as a person to get here?
I just had to, there was no self-doubt. I couldn't have any. I knew it was going to be a success. It had to be. I was, borrowing against my home. And we had, we had twins. Our twins had just been born because they're 6 years old. So we just had newborns. So I jumped into a lot, and I couldn't have doubt. I just knew it had to happen, and it had to be a success. So I did whatever I could to make it happen. You have to do that sometimes when you want something really bad. You just put every effort forward to make it happen, and with lots of positivity, and like I said, a support system around me and people that knew who I was already, that helped a lot too. So yeah.
You just know one way or the other, you're going for it. You can't fail. You just have to give it everything.
Well, sometimes that big risk comes with big reward, and you can't have big reward without that big risk. I feel like a lot of people that want to start their own business are scared to lose that paycheck, which was really scary when I was actually pregnant with my third when I went out on maternity leave, when I was finally let go at Dead River. So it was perfect timing. So the paycheck stopped as soon as I had a new baby that I was going to come into this world. So that's when the money stopped coming in. So I knew, and at that time I had the venue for 3 years. So my reputation had started building. My second year, I went from 10 weddings my first year to 20 something weddings my second year. Wow. So it was growing, it was getting better. And now I'm up to 30 weddings a year, which is really what has been my max for the past 5 years. This year I have 41 weddings.
Wow.
42, actually. I just signed a contract this week for November this year.
That's
so
my gosh.
Crazy. So blessed though. So blessed. I love my couples so much. I really, really feel for them. And I love the experience. I love sharing it with them and just seeing their day come to life, working as their planner and coordinator, watching their day and their family come and meet who makes them, and just sharing in the joy and the tears of joy make it all worthwhile.
That's awesome. What kind of things make your venue unique or that define you?
Well, I think that all the venues across the state, there's so many of us. I think we're all different, and we have to be. We can't copy each other. We can't look at ways on how we can, compare ourselves, because we don't want to be different. We want to set ourselves apart. We want to have different services, different price points, different things, because that's what makes, us survive. Wow. So I knew coming into this, already being in the industry, what I wanted to offer at my venue. So I'm really a one-stop shop. I love working with couples to help them relieve their stress off their shoulders. You get a ring on your hand and you're like, okay, this is the money I have to spend. How can I make that happen? And so I sit with my couples and I say, okay, this is what do you got? Do you have anybody that's helping you? Do you have a savings? Like, what's your plan for your day?
Right.
And I come to them and say, okay, this is the all-inclusive package that I put together. I have a package for $12,250 that comes with everything: the venue, flowers, DJ, which you're actually part of that package.
Yeah.
Flowers, parking, day of coordinating, partial planning, all the things, everything except food. So anybody that comes to me with like a $15,000 to $20,000 budget is so doable. I actually sat with one of my couples yesterday that booked, and we talked about budget. And so I want to, whatever stress they're carrying on their shoulders, I want to take off. Mm-hmm. It's fun for me. I love what I do. So I don't want them to have to worry about it. So that all-inclusive package has been a lifesaver for me and for them, to be able to have all of these preferred vendors at their fingertips that I've personally recommended, that they've all been to my property a million times. They love what I do. They often offer me a deal on their normal packages because they love working at my place. They know that I'm there, which saves them work on their side. so that they have somebody that's going to run the day as opposed to them going to a wedding that doesn't have a coordinator and they become the coordinator for free. So having me there is a lifesaver on both the couple and the other vendors that I'm dealing with on their day. So I try to set myself apart, and I have the house that the farmhouse that comes with the barn that sleeps 10. I have a house next door. That's my groom's house. I added that 4 years ago. That sleeps 8. A couple years ago, I added the cottages out back. Those each sleep 2. And then I have 3 of them sleep 2. There's the parent cottages and the honeymoon cottage. And so all together, I can house 24 people on site, which is pretty cool. People love that they can share their wedding experience with all of their loved ones for an entire weekend. So Thursday noon to Sunday noon is pretty cool. And then the chapel was like one of those weird add-ons. I had fallen in love with the space when I moved to town. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool to kind of own a church someday. Like, who doesn't want to own a church? Like, the outrageous. Yeah. So I was driving by one day and there was a for sale by owner sign on the lawn, and I hit my brakes. The twins were in the back seat. Right. Like, how do I get a tour? So thankfully, the guy across the street, the neighbor, it was his number. He's like, I'll be right over with the key, because unfortunately the owner had passed away. His son lives out west and had given the key to the neighbor just in case anybody wanted a tour.
Okay.
Went in and I fell in love. I just knew that I needed to make this part of my portfolio and offer couples a space other than a barn or outside, because there's a lot of couples, surprisingly, in today's times, that have grandparents that say, you're getting married in a barn? I don't think so. I want you to get married in a church, right. Like we did, and which I think is really special. Mm-hmm. So I added that. I'm not making any money on it, but it's there. I have 2 tenants that are wonderful that that cover the expenses. So that gets it by and covers the taxes. And eventually I'll start marketing it more. I think it would be a perfect space for like micro weddings, which are an up and coming trend. Right. 50 and under guests. I think that would be an ideal space. But so that's my goal for that, is to bring that more into the forefront in the years to come. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's, your ultimate goal is you basically just drive in, show up, and you take care of everything from there.
Yeah, that's what I really want for them. I want them to come up and just be there and just know that they're going to be taken care of. Their ease the stress. For example, I had a woman come up, a bride drive up from Pennsylvania. She toured 5 venues. Her husband was deployed. She met with me last. I like being first or last. I think that's the perfect spot for a venue, at least for me. And she sat in her car with my package after and made some phone calls and came back in. She's like, can I write you a check for $12,250? And I was like, no. As much as that would be really nice, and I could use it, it's not for me. So the venue is mine, the bar service is mine, but the other costs in that package are for the other vendors that they would contract with themselves and pay their own deposits in those contracts. So I can give them that gateway to say, here you go, this is what you need, and this is the price you're going to pay. But it's a tool for them to use, and they don't have to hire all those people. They can choose who they want, but it just helps them show that it is possible on a budget.
So you've done a lot of that heavy lifting work just to gather all that information, but you're never going to force somebody into it.
Exactly. It's their day. I can advise my experience and expertise and how things flow best, and who I've worked with that I love and who I've worked with that I don't love. I'm very honest, and I hopefully that makes them happy, and it does. I mean, people are booking, so I book probably 80 or 90% of my tours. So yeah.
How do you manage being a mom in all of this? How do you
Well, surprisingly, I'm with them all day. So I actually, despite some of the judgment I get from people that are working moms, like, you never see your kids, Misty. I'm like, actually, I probably see them more than you do, because I'm with them all day. So I get them up in the morning, I give them breakfast, I'm home. I'm home. Those 40 hours where I would have been working, I'm home with the kids. We're taking walks, we're playing, we're going to the playground, we're doing arts, all the things.
Right.
So I am that role during the day. And then because they're so little, I work at nights. Because they go to bed, I hop on my computer. So I'm usually on my computer from 9 to 2 in the morning. Most nights of the week. Peter feels a little neglected sometimes, but
right.
it's okay because they're only young once. And when I can jump on my computer, like I'll bring my laptop into the kitchen, and while they're playing, I'll answer an email or I make a phone call. But I'm with them all day. So that's what I do. And it's great because the flexibility of the business has allowed the need of my flexibility as being a business owner has been great because Peter, being the team player that he is, stepped down from his big job. So he was a regional manager for AT&T for 18 years. And he got laid off at the same time I got laid off, unfortunately. That was a crazy year.
Right.
But when he went to find a new job, he got offered a really big sales job that was going to be like 70 grand a year. And I was like, you know what? You're never going to be home. And I can't run two companies and be a mom at the same time. So why don't you let me carry the stress? And you could take a job that is just gives us health insurance. That's what we really need is health insurance. So thankfully he was kind enough to give up the stressful, numbers job and take a job that was less money, but it would require him to be, it would allow him to be home more. So it makes us a good team. And the fact that he's here, I can jump out and do meetings and network and build my business, which inevitably helps our family. So that was a great sacrifice on his part so that we could be a team and raise our family together. And so when I'm home, when I'm home, he's not, and vice versa. So we're like passing ships in the night for the time.
Hey, but I see you guys on Facebook and out there gallivanting around the town. So you still somehow manage to make time for each other.
We have to. I mean, that's how you make a marriage work, is keeping that spark alive. And because I'm so busy and he's so busy with, he works at the airport and he refs hockey, as you know. So he, with our two busy lives, we don't get to see each other that much. So making date nights, especially this summer, it's weekly. We have weekly date nights in the summer because I'm going to be working 90 hours a week. So I'll be home and then away on nights and weekends when he's not. So
my goodness.
This summer will be a weekly date night just to have alone time together, to keep our spark alive and laugh and have good time. We love good food. We're such foodies. We love trying new places. So that's and concerts once they come back. Those are two things that we really enjoy together as a couple. So in the wintertime, we get out like once a month. But as we get closer to my season, it'll be probably once a week, just so we have alone time together, because we definitely need that as a couple.
Even if you have to schedule it in, you got to make it work.
It's on the calendar.
Yeah, it's there.
Date night's on the calendar.
And the micro weddings, any other trends coming up in the industry, if you will, that are catching your attention you're looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, that's the biggest one, I think, is micro weddings because of COVID, because of people are really rethinking, I think, the big weddings nowadays. I do still have them. But they're trending to be smaller overall across the country because people are realizing that they've been home for the past year and a half, and they're realizing that it's family and love that is the most important ingredients in your wedding. So do you need to have 150 people that you don't know, or your plus ones, 75 of those that you don't know? You don't need to. It's becoming less important nowadays. So I really think the micro weddings are going to be more up and coming because of COVID. And what it has brought to the attention of couples that are wanting to celebrate their day. So I think it's going to be a big thing coming up. I mean, there'll be a huge influx of big weddings because they can now have them. But I think that the micros are going to stick around and be here for the duration. And then I think the other big trend is more casual weddings. Obviously, barns are a big trend. I think the market is now saturated with them. So I've had some people reach out to me that they are thinking about starting a barn, and I'm like, there's so much competition. There were 3 barns that closed last year because of COVID, and they canceled their weddings because they just couldn't pay the bills. So I think that there's going to be the good ones that have owners that love what they do and they're so passionate about it, because it's a lot of work. I work 80 hours a week.
Right.
So you have to love what you do. If you're not in this industry, this probably isn't for you because it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, the casual weddings are, I think, a big trend in that people are having food truck weddings. Probably 85% of my weddings are food truck weddings because it's casual, it's fun. It promotes the mingling, conversation, just fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so nobody has to be tied to a table for an hour and a half to eat dinner. It's really hard to keep them there. It really is,
Right.
As a coordinator. And then heavy hors d'oeuvre receptions are becoming a trend too, and that's what Peter and I had. We love appetizers when we go out to eat. So why not have that at your wedding? Have 15 to 18 appetizers passed for 4 hours. Like, how fun.
Right.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
Having that as your wedding reception food is kind of really fun too. It's
Cool.
money.
It is interesting too. And it looks like it's like this trend is going towards almost quality over quantity, right? Before you had to sort of check all these boxes for a wedding, but now sort of all those rules are almost out the window.
Yeah. It's people are doing their own thing and they're being creative and thinking outside the box. And I think it's really exciting. I love being a part of it. And I love the business that I'm in. I look forward to the days where all my kids are in school. So I can actually work during the week and have the evenings to myself and go to bed at a reasonable time. But in the meantime, I'm just loving every moment of it. Thankful that the season and industry is coming back. I'm looking forward to an insane year, but then next year it will be a little bit more normal, I hope, and can get my loans paid off and hopefully in 23 we'll be back to some sort of normalcy. Back
on track. You mentioned a charity auction. Any other upcoming events or things that you'd like to promote?
That's the one big one for today. I'm always hosting events at my venue, Coolidge Family Farm. So people are welcome to like me there. I always have things. Cinco de Mayo, we're hosting a personal chef dinner. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. Paired with an amazing chef who's doing personal chef dinners. So when I met him as a result of my personal chef dinners at the cottage, because he was willing to take such a small price to serve 2 people for the anniversary cottage experiences, I was like, how can I help you? Because I'm so appreciative of you not making much money on these dinners for me, so I can offer this to my couples. Let's try to do some other things at my farm to make that money back for you.
Right.
So Delicious Times Catering and personal chef services I've partnered with for my anniversary packages and for some personal chef dinners. So we had a huge Valentine's one in February in my barn. It was a huge success. I was so humbled and just blown away by the response we got, and everybody just loved it so much that we decided to do another one. So Cinco de Mayo, we're having having 2 seatings on Wednesday night coming up. And so far, we're almost booked. So we've got maybe a few tables left. We're doing bigger parties because it's Cinco de Mayo. It's not a romantic time like Valentine's. So we're doing up to tables of 8. And most of the tables right now are 4s, 6s, and 8s.
Okay.
So bring your friends.
Very cool.
The information's on my Facebook and on my personal page. But yeah, so the quilt auctions today is to raise money for the Margaret Murphy Center for Children and their food account with the Good Shepherd, putting food in hungry bellies. My passion, my second passion.
Yeah.
And then obviously the dinner on Wednesday is going to be a really fun one.
Yeah.
So.
What is going on with your husband, by the way? I swear every time I turn around, he's got a cast on or something's broken or injured. What is going on with him?
He hurt himself roughing hockey.
Okay.
So he tore a tendon or something like that. I lose track. So yeah, he's on his way to recovery. Friday, he got the okay to take his brace off. So.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you want to ask me questions or pick my brain, I'm always full of information. So.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really happy that you managed to persevere and, not that we had any question, but, just pivot and find new ways to do things and create yourself anew. I mean, that's, what we expect from you. So it was great to see it happen, Thank you. Yeah, this year is going to be a lot, but I'll get through it and then we'll be normal again. So right. It's going to be a big year, but one day at a time. Set the baseline.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, awesome. We wish you the best. Have a wonderful year and hope all your weddings go beautifully. I'm sure they will. And, we look forward to seeing all the fun and exciting things you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today too. It's been a pleasure, and I'll post that I was here. And once you get this live, I'll definitely share it so that you can get some more people to your podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Congratulations on this endeavor. This is really fun.
Yeah, thank you. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I was a little disenfranchised after leaving radio, but I really kind of wanted to do something like this even before I left, but then needed some time to reset. And like you say, with COVID and Zoom and all this technology and everybody kind of bringing things home and more accessible, seemed like the time to do it. So
yeah, I'm hearing this more and more about wedding industry folk. Just thinking outside the box and doing something fun and figuring out where their passion lies and going in that direction to build a clientele in other ways.
Right.
So I think it's all amazing, and it's entrepreneurship at its best. How do we make this happen and survive to support our family and ourselves and our livelihood? So.
Right. I mean, of course, we would never wish this on anyone, but at the same time, like you say, you find the blessings and go, well, this time forced me to really, like you say, kind of look inward and define who I am and who I want to be as we go forward.
That's right.
So, well, awesome. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your weekend.
You too, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
Good night. Bye. Or good afternoon. I'm lost already.
Yeah, it all melts together after a while.
I know. All right. Bye, honey.
Bye. Awesome. She's amazing. And I'm so thrilled and grateful that Misty was here to join me today. And I mean, it's just so cool to see what she has done over this past year and then 15 or 20 years in her career. So I'm very grateful and blessed. She is absolutely a powerhouse and a superwoman. And I'm very grateful to know a lot of super women in my life. So yeah, and it just inspires me to keep going each and every day. So thank you all once again for joining in. We will see you next time on the Mike Rovin Podcast. Take care, be well. Don't forget a little meditation, always important. I got to make sure I get that in. Find some time for yourself, no matter how crazy the days are. As Misty said, take a few minutes, schedule it in, write it on your calendar, and just find a quiet place and do some deep breathing and meditate, or take a walk on the beach or walk in the woods or whatever it takes. All right, take care, be well. We'll see you soon.